Pompeii was not destroyed in an instant. The city did not disappear in a single explosion, nor in a single collective cry, as if the world had suddenly closed in on its inhabitants. On the contrary, perhaps that is what makes its fate so disturbing. For hours, life went on. Doors opened, merchants talked, families hesitated, neighbors wondered whether to flee or wait. And all the while, above them, a mountain was preparing their annihilation. In 79 AD, Pompeii was a prosperous Roman city, situated on the shores of the Bay of Naples, at the foot of Mount Vesuvius. It had elegant villas, shops, workshops, taverns, bathhouses, temples, busy streets, and houses decorated with colorful frescoes. It was not an isolated or miserable place. It was a living city, organized, confident, where people worked, prayed, ate, debated the price of wine, gossiped about their neighbors, and no doubt talked about the future as well. It is estimated that 20,000 people lived there. 20,000 people with habits, plans, debts, loves, ordinary disagreements. And that is precisely what we must imagine. Not a city already condemned, not a city in ruins, but a city that, on that morning, still believed itself to be solid. The inhabitants of the region had long lived alongside the tremors of Vesuvius. The earth shook from time to time, cracks appeared. Some buildings still bore the marks of a great earthquake that had struck years earlier, in 62 AD, which had damaged parts of the city. But through force of habit, danger often loses its face. It becomes an inconvenience, a detail of daily life, something people talk about without truly believing in it anymore. Vesuvius was part of the landscape, not a source of worry. So when the first signs began, many people likely did not understand what they were seeing. Around early afternoon, Vesuvius erupted. A gigantic column of ash, gas, and pulverized rock rose into the sky with such violence that it was visible for dozens of kilometers in every direction. The most famous witness to the catastrophe, Pliny the Younger, would later describe this cloud as having the shape of a stone pine, an immense trunk rising into the sky, then a mass spreading out at the top. He was 17 years old and was watching the scene from Misenum on the other side of the bay. What he described in his letters remains one of the most precise volcanic testimonies of all antiquity. From Pompeii, the scene must have been surreal. At first, it may not have looked like the end of the world. It could have seemed strange, unsettling, spectacular, but not yet fatal. A black column above the mountain, a light changing color, taking on unusual shades of yellow and gray. A deep rumble, almost mineral, difficult to identify. A rumor spreading through the streets. People step outside. They look. They talk among themselves. Some go back inside to retrieve belongings. Others climb onto rooftops. Others still probably think it will pass, as it always has. Then the first stones began to fall. First ash, fine, almost gentle. Then fragments of pumice, white, light, but growing more and more numerous. They struck rooftops, courtyards, and streets with a sharp, steady sound. Within a few hours, what might have resembled a strange rain became a continuous, relentless, thick downpour. Gutters became blocked, doorsteps filled up. Fountains were clogged with debris. The city began to be buried not in fire, but in accumulation. This is an essential detail because it changes everything. Pompeii was not first destroyed by a burning wave. It was trapped by time. The inhabitants had hours to react, and it is precisely this duration that created doubt. Fleeing too soon might have seemed excessive. Waiting a little longer might have seemed reasonable. Staying sheltered at home until it was over might have seemed prudent. But every minute made escape more difficult. Pumice was piling up on rooftops, in streets, against doors. Some layers quickly reached a height of 1 meter, then 2. The air was growing heavier, denser, harder to breathe. The light was fading. The noise must have been deafening, a constant, mineral, almost inhuman hammering. Imagine an entire city being progressively buried by a storm of light rock for hours on end, with no way of knowing whether the worst had already passed or was only just beginning. In some houses, shutters were probably closed, doors reinforced, children held close. In others, bags were gathered, water, a few coins, jewelry, oil lamps. Families must have argued. Leave now? Wait for the father who hasn't come back yet. Look for the grandmother. Head for the port. Climb to higher ground. Hide in an interior room. There is nothing more cruel than a disaster that leaves just enough time to doubt. As the hours passed, Pompeii darkened. The sky, already obscured by the volcanic column, let through less and less light. Ash thickened the air. The streets became unrecognizable, their contours erased beneath a white thickness. Ordinary landmarks, the crossroads, the fountain, the neighbor's door, disappeared one after another. Lamps and torches replaced daylight. For many inhabitants, the world must have seemed to tip into an artificial night, a dirty, suffocating night, pierced by tremors and the sound of the sky falling. Some tried to flee. We know this because bodies were found in the streets, near gates, in passageways, sometimes carrying precious objects grabbed in haste. A bag filled with gold coins, jewelry wrapped in cloth, keys, as if until the very end, part of them had believed they could come back. Others chose to stay inside, thinking that a tiled roof and stone walls would offer them a better chance of survival. Again, this choice was not irrational. In many disasters, shelter saves lives. But in Pompeii, shelter could become a trap. As the layer of pumice thickened, rooftops began to give way. Beams cracked, tiles slid, ceilings collapsed on those waiting below. By this point, the city was already a labyrinth of fear. Darkness, dust, falling debris, screams, terrified animals, separated families, clogged roads, vibrating walls, lungs struggling to breathe. And in some shelters, the silence that follows a collapse. That silence may have been the worst of all. And yet, despite all of this, the eruption had not yet delivered its final blow. The first phase of the catastrophe was that of burial. The second would be that of execution. During the night, or at dawn the following day, the dynamics of the eruption changed. The great volcanic column, which had been sending enormous quantities of ash and debris into the sky for hours, became unstable. Its own mass finally overcame it. It began to collapse in on itself. And when this type of column collapses, it can produce what volcanologists call pyroclastic currents, clouds of burning gas, ash, and volcanic fragments rushing down the slopes at tremendous speed, sometimes several hundred kilometers per hour, at temperatures that can exceed 500 degrees. This is what definitively condemned Pompeii. Those who had survived the rain of pumice, the darkness, and the collapse of rooftops were overtaken by something far more terrifying still. A burning, fast-moving mass nearly impossible to outrun, which swept through the city in seconds and killed those still inside it. For them, there were no more decisions to make, no more waiting, no more hope, only the end. We often picture Pompeii as a city frozen in the dramatic poses of its victims, but before those shapes, there were real people. Men who tried to force open a passage, mothers who held a child, elderly people too slow to leave, slaves forgotten by masters already in flight, merchants who wanted to save their cash, neighbors who helped one another, and others who ran alone. The catastrophe did not only destroy a Roman city, it interrupted ordinary human gestures. This too is what archaeology has revealed. When Pompeii was rediscovered centuries later, the first serious excavations began in the 18th century. Archaeologists uncovered far more than ruins. They revealed a suspended city, houses with their objects still in place, inscriptions on walls, love notes and insults scrawled in graffiti, ovens with their carbonized bread still inside, amphorae, beds, silver coins, frescoes of stunning precision, and above all, the voids left by bodies in the hardened ash deposits, later filled with plaster to obtain those haunting silhouettes that have become the symbol of Pompeii. These shapes did not freeze the exact moment of the explosion. They froze something more human: vulnerability. This is what makes Pompeii so different from other ancient catastrophes. Here, history did not only preserve the names of the powerful or the traces of monuments, it preserved the interrupted everyday. Bread in an oven, a street under construction, an inner courtyard, a bedroom, a clenched hand, an attempt to flee, a final wait. And perhaps that is why Pompeii still moves us so deeply. Because in truth, its story is not only that of a volcano, it is the story of a delay, of a few hours during which an entire city tried to understand what was happening to it. Too little time to adapt, too much time to act as one. The kind of time that turns a natural catastrophe into a human tragedy. The last day of Pompeii was therefore not a simple, spectacular explosion. It was a progression, a degradation of the ordinary world. First, the sky becomes strange. Then the mountain speaks. Then the stone falls. Then the light disappears. Then the city hesitates. Then the rooftops give way. Then the air becomes an enemy. Then comes the final wave. And after that, nothing. Silence. Beneath several meters of volcanic material, Pompeii vanished, not from the immediate memory of the survivors in the region, but from the visible world. The streets faded away. The houses ceased to exist as houses. The voices went silent. What had been a city became a tomb with no cross, no epitaph, no ceremony. Just the earth and silence above it. But this tomb would endure through time. Centuries later, when people began to rediscover the buried city, they did not simply uncover ancient walls. They opened an almost impossible window onto Roman life. Pompeii has become one of the greatest archaeological testimonies of the ancient world, precisely because it was destroyed with a brutality that covered everything, preserved everything, immobilized everything. This is the paradox. Vesuvius annihilated Pompeii, and at the same time, it preserved it. It killed the living city, but it protected its material memory from another form of disappearance, the slow erosion of successive reconstructions and ordinary forgetting. It made Pompeii a dead city, but also a readable one. Even today, when we look at its streets, its houses, and the shapes of its victims, we are not merely observing an ancient tragedy. We are looking into a mirror. We see how stable a society can appear just hours before it collapses. We see the fragility of routine. We see the illusion of tomorrow. In the morning, Pompeii was still a city. The next day, it was a landscape of ash. Between the two, there were hours of doubt, delay, fear, imperfect decisions, waiting, flight, and loss. That is the true drama of its last day. The inhabitants were not surprised only by the power of the volcano. They were tracked by the way the catastrophe revealed itself. Not fast enough to seem unreal, not slow enough to leave a real chance. Pompeii did not disappear because its inhabitants were ignorant or passive. It disappeared because, faced with an exceptional danger, the reflexes of an ordinary day persisted too long. And that is a lesson that reaches far beyond antiquity. For civilizations do not always collapse at the moment danger appears. They often collapse at the moment they understand, too late, that the danger was real. The last day of Pompeii is not only the story of a Roman city destroyed by Vesuvius. It is the story of an ordinary world that went on for a few hours too long.